Hi everyone, I am Phoebe Morgan. I am an editor and author here at HarperCollins, and with me today I have the fantastic author C.L. Taylor, and we are here today to talk about Callie's next book, Sleep, which you can see on the shelves behind you, and to have a quick look at my next book, The Girl Next Door. Throughout the Facebook Live, please send in any questions that you might have for both of us, and you can just pop them underneath the page and we will try and get to them if we can. So, let's kick off. Hi Callie.
Hi.
Welcome to HarperCollins.
Thank you.
So, it's an exciting time at the moment. We are 4 months away from publication day for Sleep. What can you reveal about the book?
Well, Sleep is a little bit of a departure from my normal books. It is a psychological thriller, but it's also got a hint of the kind of Agatha Christie type murder mystery. Set on the Isle of Rum primarily, and it's in a hotel. There's a woman who flees a terrible accident in London, and she works there as a receptionist, and some guests start to arrive, and one of them is a killer, and they have their eyes set on Anna.
They do.
So.
It's very scary. So in Sleep, you've created a really diverse range of characters. So as you said, it's got that really amazing Agatha Christie feel, and they're all kind of stuck together in this hotel. Do you have a favourite character, or which one of your characters did you enjoy writing the most?
I enjoyed writing all of them because I don't normally write with such a big cast. I mean, there's not tons, but there's, sort of 8 or 9 of them.
Yeah.
And it was fun writing different characters, but the most fun had to be the most obnoxious, which was Malcolm.
Yes,
because
I do not like Malcolm.
Yeah, I don't think anybody likes
No,
Malcolm.
you're not meant
But
to.
it's always really good fun to write the characters that say things, that raise an eyebrow or start an argument, because you can just put that sort of little troublemaker bit of yourself into this character and just see where they go with it.
Would you say Malcolm is based on anybody that you know?
No, not really. He's kind of a few men that I've seen on trains who are very overbearing and like the sound of their own voices, think they know more than women. He is a bit of a misogynist.
Yeah.
But the noise has stopped, the
it's
background
fine,
noise. But yeah, he's not based on anybody I actually know, more of a sort of general observation of a type of man.
I think he's great because he will get people talking and he'll sort of raise the hackles, which is what we want. So Sleep is obviously your 6th book with Avon. I can't believe we're at 6 already.
I know, it's gone so quickly.
It's incredible. What would you say has changed the most since writing your first book? So your first book with us was The Accident.
Yeah. Well, each book changes really, because I was always under the impression that the more books that you write, the easier it gets. That is absolutely not the case. And having spoken to Jill Mansell, who lives in Bristol as well, who I see for lunch sometimes, she's written 27.
Gosh.
And she says it doesn't get any easier.
Oh,
so
it's a bit disheartening.
So by book 6, every single book is a challenge because there's no kind of, magic plot that you can just slot the characters into. Each main character is different. Each sort of quest that they have, thing that they're trying to find out or discover is different. The cast is different. The interactions are different. So I think I've learnt that to expect hiccups along the road when I'm writing it. Whenever I start writing a book, I find it very, very hard. That first blank page, you don't know your characters very well, and you're just like, right, you've got this idea in the back of your head, and then you have to put it down. And I struggle for probably the first 2 or 3 chapters to find the voice, to find the character, and then I'm kind of off. Then I get to about 40,000 words, and then I get stuck, and I think it's awful, and I'm not sure where to go next. But I've learnt now that happens with every single book. And in fact, I've started keeping a diary.
Have you?
Yeah, I keep a diary.
You haven't got enough to write without having doing a diary.
It's just like a writing diary. So it's so I can look back on the process and go, yeah, this is where I always get stuck. Or, pre-publication nerves or anxieties. Oh, yes, I felt like this about the last book as well.
I think that's a really good idea because it's really reassuring, because I've also felt the same thing. And I thought actually, and my boyfriend said, you felt like this time last year. And I thought, no, I didn't. It was so much easier.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's a really good way of keeping track.
Yeah. I'd recommend it to any writers. Write these things down. And even things like, I don't know how many Goodreads reviews that you've got or what your average is, because you will think to yourself, oh, this book, isn't doing as well as the last one.
Yeah.
And then you look and you go, oh, actually, it's doing better. But,
That's really good, because then you can sort of be logical about
Yeah.
it. Interesting. So obviously an exciting thing about Sleep is that it will be your first ever hardback.
Yes.
Everyone at Avon is very excited about that, and hopefully you are too.
Very.
But how does that make you feel, having your first hardback?
It's amazing. I've always had like a bucket list of things that I'd like to achieve as a writer, and one of them is having a hardback. And even though this is my 6th book for Avon, it's my 10th book.
Yes.
Ninth book. Ninth book. I'm writing my 10th book right now, out of all of the books that I've written. So I feel like, my first book came out, my rom-com came out in 2009.
Wow.
So next year it'll be 10 years since my book was published, and I'll finally get a hardback.
Oh, that's a nice way to celebrate.
Yeah, I know hardbacks aren't for everyone, but I love them because I think they're so solid. And there's a sort of thing that you just keep, as well as reading it, you keep it, you put it on your bookshelf. And so to have one of my books, as a hardback is just lovely.
Are you a collector of hardbacks then? Do you have like a shelf of your favourite
hardbacks? I'm a bit of a fan of getting signed copies from Waterstones.
Okay.
Like if you sign up to the Waterstones website, they send you an email every now and then saying we've got new signed books in. And I buy hardbacks from that. I go, oh yeah, I love that author, or I'm a fan of them, and I buy the hardbacks and collect them.
That's nice. And you've got like the lovely jacket as well.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very exciting. So what is the one thing readers should know about Sleep? Obviously you've told us a little bit, but is there one thing that you think they should know?
I think if you really like whodunits, if you like to guess which of these suspects is the person responsible, it's quite a riddle, I think, for one of my books. There's little clues in there what's going on, but I've tried to make it as twisted as I possibly can. So there are twists and reveals all the way through. No one who has reviewed it so far has said, I got it right. Or no, and not one has said it's predictable, because it is absolutely not predictable.
No, definitely
So
not,
if you want a book to keep you on your toes and keep you guessing, then give Sleep a go.
Definitely. I mean, I 100% agree with that. I think it's brilliant. And even though we had kind of discussed the idea beforehand, during the editing process, it was so twisty that I almost forgot who had done it. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't as though I was like, oh, I know who it is.
Yeah.
And I think you really keep the reader on their toes, and there's a lot of red herrings, and you really can't trust anything until the very last page, I would say.
Yes.
So, yes, one to look forward to.
Thank you.
Yes.
So is it my turn to ask you questions
You can
now?
do, yes.
Okay, so Phoebe is the author of 2 books. Her first book was called The Dollhouse, when that's already out, and The Girl Next Door is coming out in February.
Yep,
is that
February,
correct? Yep. So how has it differed? How has it differed writing your second book to your first? Did you have that terrible second book syndrome that we often have?
Yeah, I think I did. I think that's why what you said earlier really resonates, because in my head I thought, well, this book is completely terrible. And obviously once you're kind of on your second book, you're sometimes writing to a deadline, which is a bit harder than when you're writing your first book. It's just sort of, you've got all the time in the world, and you just sort of put it out there. But once you're in a contract, I found that pressure a little bit more difficult. But at the end of the day, I'm really pleased with the end result. And I think it's been a really interesting process, and it was edited a lot more than the first one was, so that has been a really good learning curve for me as well.
Yeah, I think that's really natural. For the first book, you've worked on it so much, and you've polished it, and you've gone over it over and over again, and then hopefully you barely get any edits.
Yeah.
And then I think it can come as quite a surprise with your second book. In fact, my second book for Avon was The Lie.
Yeah.
And when I got my feedback from Lydia, I cried.
Oh no.
Because it was so extensive compared to The Accident. I thought I'd done something terribly wrong.
Yeah.
What I've learnt now is actually, extensive edits don't mean that it's not a very good book.
No,
it just
definitely not. And often they mean that it kind of is a good book, and it just needs like really drawing out of itself, and there's so much material there to play with, which I think is what happened with Sleep as well.
Yeah.
I will ask you another question, which is, what do you love the most and what do you dislike the most about being an author?
I definitely love the emails that I get from people. The number of emails that I've had from people who say, I hadn't read a book for years, or I've struggled to read books, I've put them down or whatever, and then I picked up one of yours and it's reignited a love of reading, and I'm burning through them all now. That is such an honour for somebody to say that. And there was one guy in particular who messaged me to say that my book had got him into reading again. And then I heard, and so I said, that's wonderful, I'm so pleased. I recommended some other authors to him because he was really enjoying psychological thrillers. And then I heard from him again recently, which was 2 years after that first email. And he said to me, I just wanted to say again thank you for getting me started on my love of reading. I haven't stopped reading in the last 2 years.
Aww.
And it's inspired me so much that I'm giving up my job as a bus driver and I'm going to university to become a teacher.
Wow.
I know.
That's an amazing
I know.
story.
And I just thought, you write these books and you slave over them and you think, somebody might read them on the beach and it might make a day of their holiday pass really enjoyably or whatever, or they cuddle up in bed under the duvet and enjoy it. But to get an email where somebody says something like that,
like a huge impact on his life.
Yeah, or that they've bought all your books because they're loving them so much or whatever. It's incredible. It's a real honour. And conversely, the worst thing about being an author is the self-doubt. And that's something that I thought would go away. The more books that I had published and the more success I had and the more sales. But it's something that most authors that I know really struggle with, where you just think, I don't think this story is good enough. Why am I not good enough or whatever? And people reading the final product, the final book, can't tell that all of those struggles you had as you went through it and second guessing yourself and stuff. Do you do that as well?
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah.
And I think I also compare myself quite a lot. And I think it's so difficult not to. I really, really try not to. And I always advise people that there's no point.
Yeah.
And I know there isn't any point, but I think when you're seeing other people talking about their books and also if I've read a really good book, I will then go back to my manuscript and be like, well, what is the point of me carrying on? This book is so much better. So I think all writers do struggle with that as well.
Yeah, exactly. I try that when that happens, when I read a book that is so good that I just think, oh, why am I even bothering? Then I might pick up a book that's not so good.
Oh, really? That's a good idea.
And think, well, okay, maybe.
Yeah. You can
I
give me a list
so
of
hard
the
on
not so good ones afterwards. So moving on to the next question. Is psychological suspense the genre that you write? Is that also your favourite one to read?
This is a kind of tricky one, really, because it was when I started writing psych thrillers and psych suspense. It wasn't, it's a genre that had been around for ages. So it had been around since, Daphne du Maurier wrote Rebecca, which I have read and I did hugely love. But it didn't have a sort of, it wasn't as sort of prominent as it is now.
No, and it's become very commercial, hasn't it? There's a lot of people talking about it. Yeah.
And so before I wrote the first one, before I wrote The Accident, I had read Elizabeth Haynes' Into the Darkest Corner, which is my all-time favourite psychological thriller, and S.J. Watson's Before I Go to Sleep. In fact, I listened to the audio book of that when I was on maternity leave with my son. And they both really, fired my imagination. I was second-guessing the plot and stuff, and I knew that I wanted to write something like that. And I do still read a lot of psychological thrillers. Obviously, I'm sent a lot of proofs now.
Yeah.
So it can get a little bit overwhelming when you're just getting proof after proof in the same genre. So I try and read widely, as I always have. So, anything from literary to sort of commercial literary crossover. I love a dystopian novel. It was kind of... In my teens, I was obsessed with dystopian novels, and I read them. And I like YA as well. I like reading YA.
Well,
if it's the right subject.
Kelly also writes YA,
So I try and read widely, and I like reading a lot of non-fiction as well, because the danger with fiction is that you can, as an editor and an author, you must do this. It's quite hard to turn your head off sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
And you can see holes, or you can...
Yeah, you're sort of analysing it all the way through.
Yeah.
One of the things I've tried to do this year is I set myself a goal of reading more non-fiction. So I just said I would read 5 books, which isn't very much, but with all the other stuff I have to read, I enjoy reading. It was, enough to do 5 non-fiction.
Which ones did you read, or did you
enjoy? I read Bryony Gordon's latest one, which is the one about running. I actually now can't remember. Eat, Sleep, Eat, Drink, Run. Yeah, something like that, which was great. I thought she was really funny, really interesting take on kind of mental health and drinking and running. And I read a book called Quiet, which is about introverts.
I've got that. That's in my bathroom.
Yeah,
I've been gradually reading
through it. It's interesting. Yeah, I actually don't think I am an introvert, but it's really interesting to like having read, do you think you are?
I
don't know. But it's really interesting, like almost scientific study, and a couple more. But it's been good to kind of broaden my horizons a bit, I think. Definitely.
I do really enjoy reading non-fiction, even, you know, not just for, you know, book research, but I love anything to do with psychology, abnormal psychology, neurology, all that kind of thing. I've got a pile actually that I really want to read over Christmas. Right, so let me just see where we are with the questions. So the genre to read. Okay, your question. Do you ever feel guilty about killing off your characters? If so, any regrets?
That's a good question. No, I don't think I feel guilty.
No.
I think it's quite fun. And I don't think I really regret killing the characters. I think sometimes it might change halfway. So I'm writing book 3 now, which is a bit of a struggle. But so I think the person who dies might potentially change. You know, I'm sort of partway through, about 45,000. I don't think I'm going to get to 50 by the end of the month, sadly. But yeah, so I sometimes find as I write, the person that dies might change. I don't know if you ever feel that, but...
How did you feel about... I'm reading The Girl Next Door, which is Phoebe's next book, which is out in February, which is really, really good. I'm really enjoying it. And that... I can't remember... Can I have a look at the... I can't look at the back. I don't want to give away any spoilers. Okay. I just want to check... Right, okay, it's on the back. So 16-year-old Claire, the girl next door, is found murdered.
Yeah,
so
she dies right at the beginning.
So I can talk about that. Yeah. How did you feel about that, about killing, I mean...
Well, like a young person, you mean?
Yeah, killing off a young person.
Yeah, I suppose it's a bit unsavoury, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I felt like it was very necessary for the plot.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'm always interested in my books is like the sort of parent-child dynamic. I know you've explored it in some of yours as well. And kind of that relationship between what kind of teenagers know and what adults know, and the kind of things that adults conceal from teenagers. And, you know, it might be that the teenager kind of knew more than they were letting on the whole time. Or, you know, I think that's a really interesting dynamic. So I felt I didn't want it to be a book solely about adults. I wanted there to be a bit of an age range, and there's some younger children as well. But I suppose killing off a 16-year-old isn't very nice. But she does have a voice in the book as well. So there's sort of flashback chapters, and so I wanted to make sure she had a voice of her own, and she wasn't just this sort of teenager that no one cared about and was forgotten about at the start. So
and the woman, the neighbour, is it Jane? Yeah, she's a particularly interesting character. I said I've sort of written on Twitter that she's kind of snarky yet darkly humorous. Like her little asides and her little comments on people and stuff, I actually find very amusing.
Oh, good. Yeah.
How did you? Because it's quite hard to write a character like that without making them unlikable. Did you? And she is likable.
What do you think? Good. I wasn't sure.
I do like her because, and she's not flat or normal or plain. She is like a properly rounded character with flaws.
Thank you.
But she's amusing, and I think that's why I like her. But did you have that in your head as you were writing that? Like, I need to make this character likable, or did you just write her?
Not necessarily likable, although I know sometimes I do tell authors that there needs to be a likable character in the book, and I think it's important that someone is likable. So I think when you have a whole cast of really dislikable characters, or I think when you can't empathise with anyone, that's the hard thing. Like I find it's very difficult to connect to a book if you can't empathise with at least one person. So I definitely wanted people to just be able to connect with her. And a lot of the kind of humorous stuff comes out of her kind of relationship with her family, and like her domesticity, and the idea of being this kind of housewife and kind of perfect woman. So I suppose I was just trying to inject a little bit of like sarcasm and a little bit of darkness to her.
There's darkness to her family history as well, without giving anything too much away. So it makes me wonder, I've not finished it yet, so I don't know, but makes me wonder how much of this is a front. Because she's hiding dark secrets.
We'll have to see. But I'm glad that you liked it.
Really I am really enjoying it.
Okay, next question is, if you were going to change to writing upbeat fiction, which I know you have done in the past, with a happy ending, what do you think your idea would be?
Well, funny enough, I did think about this, not because I'm going to stop writing psych thrillers, but with all the talk in the industry of uplit, you know, I thought to myself, I was like, do I have an idea for uplit? And I do have more of a sort of character with a flaw, who I think could be interesting to explore, but I'm not about to announce the plot to everybody watching this on Facebook, because, you know, I don't know if I will write it, but it's just, I often have characters ticking away in the back of my head, and certain books that they will work in and certain books that they won't. So the next book that I write for Avon that I started in January, there's a character that was originally going to be the main character in Sleep.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
But she wasn't right. She was, the character was too quirky, and I needed more of a character who's originally a bit of a control freak, a workaholic. She is at the start of Sleep, and this was not this other character. So I sort of chucked that. And then when I came up with the idea for the next book that I'll start writing, I was like, this character works brilliantly.
Oh, that's great. So you can like reuse them.
Yeah.
It's not a wasted
but
time.
She's based on this character is based on a courier. Well, she's not based on a courier. I had the character first.
Right.
And then one day the doorbell went. I opened the door and I was like,
it was your character?
The courier standing there, female courier, looked exactly like I had sort of imagined my character for the next book. And I was like, this is really strange.
That is
and
strange,
I really want to ask her if I can take a photo of her, but I think that might be a bit weird.
It might be a little bit weird, yeah.
Can I stick it on my wall so I make sure I describe
But that's great though. Hopefully she will pop up again.
Yeah, well, she's definitely going to be in the next book. So,
exciting.
What is your favourite place to write?
The real answer to this is actually like on my bed, but I also have a little writing desk, which I do love, and I do try and write there, but sometimes I just get a bit like, especially when it's winter, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to go on my bed. But I try and make myself sit at a desk because it is better for your posture.
Yes, exactly.
And I have some kind of little inspirational quotes. If you look on my Instagram, you'll see them by my desk, and I kind of have put my books up and like some writing books that I use to help with plotting and stuff. By the desk, and so that's quite nice for when you're having a bit of a moment and just have a look at what you've already achieved and look at what other people have achieved to inspire you. What about you? Do you have a favourite place?
Like you, I have a desk that I am supposed to sit at, and actually I've just had to order a new chair because I was having a sore hip, and it's because I sit sideways, which you're not supposed to do.
What, like with your legs off the side?
Yeah, I have like cross-legged and then I twist.
Oh.
So my chair's basically got to go.
Yeah.
So I do write a little bit on the sofa sometimes. Like you, I think when you sit at your desk, you feel like this is work.
It's like a job.
Yeah, exactly. Which, you know, it is my job. But sometimes you're not in the mood. And so sometimes I will just get like a pad and pen.
Oh, really? Well, you do write longhand quite often, don't you?
Sometimes. With my YA I did, because I wanted it to feel different. So I'll often just do pad and pen, or if I get stuck, getting pad and pen and sitting on the sofa with a blanket, it just feels like, it reminds me of being young and writing stories for fun, or writing diaries and that sort of thing. But my favourite places to write are on writing retreats.
Oh yes,
because that way you've got you don't have to do the washing up, you don't have to cook any meals, you don't have to. Some places you don't have to make the bed. Yeah. So there's some lovely writing retreats that I've been to. There's Chez Castillon in France. And there's Anamcara in Ireland. There's Retreats for You in Devon. Yes. I went on a writing retreat with friends rather than like a set one up in Keighley near Haworth in North Yorkshire.
Oh, yeah.
And that was lovely. And sometimes I just go to a hotel.
Oh, that was where you had that weird bed.
Yeah. I stayed in a room that was said to inspire Emily Bronte's scene in Wuthering Heights, where the ghost of Cathy taps on the window, and because she had visited that house, so she had seen this little tiny window in the room I stayed in, and then they've built this box bed around it as it would have looked back then. So the first night I slept in the box bed, and I had heard rumours that the room was haunted, and it was all right, nothing happened. And then at 4:30 in the morning, I woke up and I was like, why am I awake? And then I went back to sleep. I started to go back to sleep. And as I was just dropping off, a male voice went, whoa, in my ear.
So scary.
I didn't stay in that room again, but my friend did. and she woke up in the night and the duvet was being pulled off her.
I mean,
So
I will not be staying in that room.
That's not like my normal writing retreat, but it's a lovely place. Do go.
Let's go.
But yeah, so writing retreats is my favourite because I can just concentrate on the book then.
We are going to move on to the live questions now, because we've had lots come in from people that are kindly watching. So the first question is from Katie Marie, and this is for you, Callie.
Okay.
Will you be taking, I think I know the answer, will you be taking a break before cracking on with the new book, or are you going to jump straight in?
So at the moment, I am writing my second young adult thriller for HQ, which is the imprint that publishes Phoebe.
Yes.
And I have been writing like a demon during the whole of November. I've been doing NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month. It's a challenge that anybody can do. You log onto a website, you log your word count daily, and the idea is to try and write 50,000 words in a month. And I thought it would be a good way to kind of motivate me to write hard and write fast. And I did it. I finished it yesterday.
That's amazing.
Because I knew I was going to be in London today and I thought I'm not going to get any work done. So I finished the 50,000 words. I've still got about 7 chapters to go. And then because I changed the ending right at the last minute, I thought this ending doesn't work. I had a bit of a brainstorm with some friends. And then when I went to bed, I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning and, I was falling asleep and I was like, oh, I know.
I had the idea.
So I've got to do a rewrite. But
still, you did the 50k. That's the main thing.
And I'm hoping to get it finished by the middle of December, and then I'll have 2 weeks off for Christmas, and then first day back of January or third, whatever it is, start plotting the next Avon book, and then my aim is to start writing it mid-January. So I'll have hopefully, if it all goes according to plan and I finish on time, I'll have 2 weeks off.
You'll have a little break.
Yeah.
Good. This is a good question here from Colette for both of us. What is the most difficult thing about writing characters of the opposite sex?
Do you want to answer that first?
Yes, I find it really hard. So in The Dollhouse, one of the main characters is a male, and I remember my agent and I talked a lot about whether we should, his voice wasn't right basically because I have quite a female way of writing. So we talked about whether we should change him completely, and in the end we kind of stripped him back quite a lot and gave the females more room to kind of breathe, because I do think it's quite difficult to get into. I find it difficult to get into that male mindset, and it's just little things like thinking about the sort of words that they would use and the sort of body language between a male and a female can be, not always, but it can be quite different. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't really think about it too much. I mean, to me it's a character.
I think you're quite good at it.
Obviously men, are different from women. I think the danger would be to be too cliched.
Yes, you have to avoid that.
All men are like this, which is not the case. But whenever I take any character, I always think about what happened in their past to make them the person they are now. So they are rounded characters in themselves.
That's important, I think that is the main thing.
Although I'm very aware now at the moment writing this young adult thriller, I've got quite a lot of teenage boys in it. And that to me is more of a challenge than, because when I was at university I shared a house with 5 men and me. So I watched men from quite close quarters. I think the thing is just to talk to men, to watch men, to eavesdrop men, on the train or the tube or whatever.
Well, I think listening to people on the train is a good idea. You quite often can get inspiration that way. Next question is for Penelope. For me, from Penelope. That's a lovely name. What inspires you to write? I think I've always wanted to write, and I'm also quite inspired by other authors. So, I think working as an editor, I was naturally surrounded by so many amazing books, and you sort of think, oh, well, maybe I can have a go. And it's, it's really inspiring getting to work with people like Callie and getting to work with such a great list of authors. And I've always read a lot, so I think whenever you read a lot, you sort of naturally are a bit more drawn to the writing side of things, and also take inspiration from kind of news articles. I know you did that actually with The Fear, and things that you see and hear, and also little conversations. Like sometimes I'll write down a little conversation on my iPhone that I've overheard on the train or wherever, and like you must do the same. I think it's from everyday life. Yeah,
different things inspire different books. So I probably started off, the first 3 books were based on my fears, fears of a horrible ex coming back into my life, or fears of friends turning against you, or whatever. And then it changed. And then I think this one, including Slightly Sleep, were inspired by news stories. Somewhere in the book. But then the one that I'm going to write next was based on this character, and I just thought, where will this character go? What will she do? And then the rest kind of fitted in with that. So it's quite rare for the character to come first.
Yeah, that's interesting.
For me, it's normally
and to turn up at your door as well. That must be rare.
It's normally a what if this, and then I work from there. But
and a question from Kerry for both of us, which is kind of linking to that one. Are any of your plots inspired by real events?
Yeah, well, partly. So the fear was partly inspired by the news case of the teacher who ran away to France with his pupil. Obviously, I've taken a massive leap into fiction with the way that I explore it and what happens afterwards. But that was kind of the starting point for that. The starting point for the escape was a news feed on Avon and Somerset Constabulary's Facebook, where a woman didn't turn up for court with her child and she'd run off. So that kind of inspired the escape and made me think, oh, what if that woman hadn't done anything wrong and she was just protecting her child? And I can't tell you, I can't say what news story inspired Sleep, because it'll totally give it away.
We can't give the plot away just yet. No, that really would give it away. And question from Sarah Jane: how do you keep your plot linear? I seem to jump around a lot. So I guess Sarah Jane is another writer. How would you say you keep yours? I mean, I don't think I do.
Oh, you don't really plot, do you?
No, I'm a really bad plotter. So I kind of tend to just write, and then I have to go back and edit a lot. Which is fine, and I think some people do work like that. But in terms of keeping things linear, I tend to sort of write the scenes that I feel I can write in that moment, and then sometimes I kind of rejig them, a bit like a jigsaw piece. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I start off going linear, and then I literally lose the plot. So
I absolutely have to go linear.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, when I was struggling to try and finish NaNoWriMo, I was like, why don't I just jump to the end and write this scene I'm looking forward to? And I couldn't do it. There's a part of me like, no, you must go one after another after another. I'm quite a big plotter, although not quite as much as I used to be. I used to write an outline before I started for a couple of the books, but I use the 4-act structure. There's a great book by Alexandra Sokoloff called Stealing Hollywood, and it explains the 4-act structure. It's used in a lot of films. So what I do is there are 8 sequences, like in 4 acts, and there's a climax at the end of one, or a big turning point or a twist or whatever. So I will know at least those 8 points.
Okay, that's good.
And so I'll start at the beginning and then work through, and then other stuff will come and happen. Obviously, it gets tricky if you're writing like different threads. So you've got a past thread and a present thread, but I just tend to just start at the beginning and just keep going.
Just carry on. Just keep
going. From one sort of point to another.
Yeah. Also, maybe look into the book that you mentioned.
Yeah. There's loads. I've on my website, cltaylorauthor.com. If you scroll through my news feed all the way back to September last year or the year before, I can't remember, I've listed all of the how to write books that I use and that I found useful.
Very useful.
So hopefully that will help if you have a look.
And a couple more questions. This is from Connor. He says, with a large amount of characters, how did you find unique traits that make them different?
Again, it's that case of thinking, who is this person and why are they this way?
Yeah.
So in Sleep, the characters in the island, in the hotel, there's a sort of married, late middle-aged couple. There's their niece who's a teenager. There's a lone single man in his 30s. A lone single woman in her 30s, and then an older woman in her 60s. And I obviously they are all just different anyway because of their sort of age groups and stuff. I don't know. I don't really know how I made them different. I just thought about the individual character, and they all have a secret, so I had to make all of the secrets different.
And that helps, I think, because it gives them all a backstory.
Yeah, so you do a lot of brainstorming, and there were cases where I thought, oh, this one could be this one's secret, and I thought, no, that's too similar to that. So I would reject that idea. Then I'd find another idea, and then you sort of sort of delve down into the character, thinking what happened in their past that made them this kind of person. What is it that they want? Because the best way to create conflict is to have two people with opposing wants, and then they clash in a scene. So.
And I think you do that really well with your characters. They're all quite different.
Although I did have to cut. Phoebe made me cut one.
I made you cut more than one, did I?
No.
Or was it just one in the end?
No, two. We cut.
That was brutal.
We cut one. We cut one from the accident, and then from the car crash, and then one from the island, which I was quite sad about because in my fantasy casting in my head it was Idris Elba.
Oh,
so
you didn't tell me that.
I didn't tell him. So if it ever gets made into a TV adaptation, I'm never going to meet Idris Elba.
And that's my fault. I will not meet him either. But no, I think the cast we have now in Sleep is very strong.
You said it shouldn't be too big. Which,
because you've got to keep track.
Yeah.
And now they all have the space to
exactly.
brilliant characters.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's time for us to announce the winners of the book proofs behind us. Not all of them, sorry, just one each. So thank you everyone for sending in so many brilliant questions. The winner of the Sleep proof is Katie Marie. The winner of The Girl Next Door is Kerry Cunnington. So we will get in touch with you after the event to organise getting you your prize.
Well done.
So thank you so much, especially to Callie,
Thank you.
for giving such an insightful chat about your writing process and about your books. Sleep is out on the 21st of March in hardback and audio and ebook.
Yep. And
the paperback will be out in September next year, September 2019. The Girl Next Door is out on 21st of Feb in paperback, audio and ebook. So all remains is to say a huge thank you for everyone for tuning in. We can also encourage you to follow us on social media. Do you want to give your social
my
handles?
Twitter is @Callie Taylor. My Facebook is Callie Taylor Author, all one word. And my Instagram is CL Taylor Author. So
you also have
they're all different.
And you also have your website,
And my website is www.cltaylorauthor.com. And in fact, if you just head to that one, there's links to all the other ones, which is probably the easiest way.
And if you want to follow me, I'm on Twitter, Phoebe_A_Morgan. I'm on Facebook at Phoebe Morgan Author, and my website is phoebemorganauthor.com. Again, you will find all the other links on there. So thank you very much, and we hope you enjoy our books.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks for watching.